got love for you, man. You know what I'm saying?
What are we talking about? You know, I'm not here to start any trouble.
I'm only going to say nice things about you from now on. I think you're handsome, and I think you're a wonderful host.
I'm fat and I'm overweight. Just don't say anything silly.
I was waiting for you to say that.
I'm not laughing about it. You think this is funny, I take it serious.
You know, I don't want y'all to take anything out of context that I'm saying.
He's very funny. He likes to joke around a lot.
As a personality and as an entertainer, yes.
This is going to be really quick. I'm not taking any questions.
Go ahead and get comfortable. I'm going to talk for a little bit.
You're listening to Cabbie Presents, the podcast.
Welcome back to the Cabbie Presents podcast. I'm your host, Cabbie Richards. This is the first time we're doing a part 2 with a guest because this man has so much knowledge, so many great stories, and a healthy slice of history that we felt we should share with you. So we shall, in part 2, with a very good friend of mine who joins me in the studio right now.
If it's going to be an interview, I'm going to conduct it. So I'll answer my own questions, ask myself the questions, then give y'all the answers.
Mastermind returns, the curator of my high school years as far as the soundtrack goes, because I was a huge consumer of the music that he put out via mixtapes, and I would travel from Cambridge, Ontario, 1 hour east to Toronto, and I would go to Play to Record every month and buy one of 2 Mastermind mixtapes, either the hip-hop tape or the R&B tape. He returns.
Yo, you went to school in Cambridge, or you from Cambridge? Oh,
no, I went to school.
Because I remember your parents are in Brampton.
Well, my parents live in Brampton, but they're from the islands. But we moved to Cambridge when I was 12 from Toronto.
And how much older am I than you?
I think 1 or 2 years.
So I was in high school when you were in high school then.
I think. Well, I was in, I don't know if I want to give my age on this thing.
All right, but I'm just saying, you're making me sound stupid old when you're like, the curator of my high school years.
Yeah, but that doesn't, hey, listen, there was always like one older brother in the crew got like the best tapes. Got like the first one to get Boogie Down Production, the first one to get Public Enemy, Intelligent Hoodlum, got the friggin'
look at you giving your resume of hip-hop.
Instinctive Travels. The Tribe Called Quest. Like, there's always one guy who's like, older brother had all the tapes.
Right.
So, you know, that just means you're just the older brother.
All right, I hear you.
So, the last time we spoke,
we got up to 99.
99. Hey, before we did that, did you change your passwords?
Yeah.
You changed all your passwords?
Not all. I changed the Google.
Because there was, what was it, Google, Facebook. What was that bucket? Heartbleed?
Heartbleed. I think I changed my Facebook recently. I think I did.
I did Google, Facebook. I didn't change Yahoo because I'm like, it's my fantasy pools. Like, I don't care if you grab my fantasy pool information.
I really don't care if somebody grabs my Facebook. I got Facebook is whatever. I'll make a new page.
But I think in that, like, they could maybe, I mean, who knows how the passwords will be used or whatever. But I guess if you have any financial information on there, which I doubt you would because you're not that dumb.
Look at me being so nonchalant. Next thing I know, like, they've stolen my identity.
There are like 70 of you in Europe. Like, your IDs are friggin' everywhere. So you did change your passwords.
At least on Gmail I did, for a fact.
Well, okay, Gmail is also YouTube and
Google. That's what I'm saying. My Google I did.
Okay. Yeah. So last time we were at 99.
Yeah.
And in
year 99.
1999. Yeah. Yes. And then what happened in 1999?
All right. So
other than the Y2K scare.
Right. Well, I was making mixtapes probably from end of 93. I think we didn't really establish how it's, but people kept asking me for tapes.
Because you were doing the radio show.
I was doing a radio show, and they're like, yo, just make me a tape. And it kind of started with the dudes from Two Black Guys, which is, it used to be a clothing store. There was a Bathurst and...
I think King.
Bloor. No, it was Bathurst and Bloorish.
Big it up.
Big it up. Big it up.
Yes.
All right. So the guys from Two Black Guys, who I was friends with at the time, were like, yo, make us tapes. All my friends were like, make us tapes, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, I'm going to start making tapes. So started out, I did 10. Then it turned into 20. And I would put them in, I think it was only like a couple of places.
How did you record your show?
It wasn't my show. I would actually make a tape at home. So I would mix the 60-minute or the 90-minute tape at home, type out the songs on a computer and print that out, multiple times and just cut it out and put it in the sleeve.
What was the home computer that you had?
Back then, just a PC.
Just okay.
Yeah, just a regular PC.
You weren't on Team Apple?
Nah, not back then. But I remember my first email was mastermind@globalserve.net. And it was like the dial-up business and all that. Of course
it was. It was screaming in your room, the friggin' modem. Was it like 14.4 or 28.8?
See, now you're speaking Chinese to me. I have no idea.
But those were the original modems. And then it was, or maybe it was even like a 7200 or a 9600, I think, was like maybe the first one.
I don't know. But you can actually see a picture of my room. I think it's on my Twitter page, like the background or whatever. You can see the hip-hopness of my room back then.
Oh, you had like posters and stuff?
What?
Oh, you're lucky, man.
Oh, dude, my room looks super hip-hop. My
dad never let me put anything on the walls. Like, no, you're going to put holes in the walls. I'm like, it's my room.
Dude, I was in the basement, so it was like...
Again, even luckier.
Yeah, man, it was pretty good.
Was that the Smash House?
It turned into after a while. But that's another story. I remember my dad walked in one time.
Oh!
Good God. Well, I guess back to the mixtapes.
but then what was there must have been a conversation either in the car.
Never. About that?
Yeah.
Dude, it was Pops walked in, we froze, and he walked back out like Homer Simpson. You know when Homer walks into the bushes?
Yeah.
He did that, shut the door, and we have never spoke about it. Ever.
But what form of nakedness were you in?
Oh, dude, she was on top.
Oh, was it completely naked?
Oh, butt ass naked, and then we froze. So she froze. It was like the end of the friggin' Police Squad TV. Everybody froze, but we weren't frozen, and she was mortified. Oh my God.
Of course she was. Like it must have, she was. I can't go back to your house again.
We're still together.
Oh wow. Oh my gosh!
You know, and to footnote that story, we also got caught by my son. He walked in on us one time,
goodness.
so we got best of both worlds.
You generational
trauma.
Yes.
Therapy for both generations. Oh man! All right, so people were asking me for mixtapes. I started off small, but when I got my job at Energy, which was the big commercial station, Energy 108, I kind of said I can take this bigger. People are gonna want what I'm serving, basically. And so that's when it branched out. So there was, a place in Hamilton. I think there was a place in London. There was out east. I think I had a place in Pickering or Ajax. How's it go? Pickering, Oshawa, Ajax?
Going from east to or west to east, out of Toronto.
Pickering, I know is first.
Pickering, Ajax, Whitby, Oshawa.
Okay, so I think it was in Ajax.
Okay.
Oshawa's the furthest?
I think, yeah.
You're bugging, really?
I think so.
Okay, so anyway, it was one of those
Someone
places.
will correct us via Twitter when they hear this. There's some GT, so the Durham region just outside of Toronto.
And then I had, Brampton, I had Saga, I had everything in between covered. And then I got even more popular. I had some guy in Vancouver, I had somebody in Winnipeg.
So these are all retailers or barbershops that were selling your mixtapes.
There was, one guy. Actually, this is an interesting story. The kid in Winnipeg, his name was Sharath, found me, huge fan. Probably bought my tapes at a place in Edmonton or someplace. I had a place in Edmonton and Calgary as well. Called me up. He said he wanted to sell my tapes. Young, ambitious kid, hip-hop head. And in some of those cities, this was like their only outlet,
of course,
for getting, the hip-hop that I was putting on the tapes. I mean, you could always buy albums, but the rate at stuff that I was getting, because I was actively going to New York. I had great relationships with the record labels and with the artists. So I was getting records and CDs and DATs and acetates. I was getting stuff way before anybody, and that's kind of what my claim to fame was. If you wanted to hear new music, you listened to my show, you bought my mixtapes, you would get all of that. So this kid called me up. We became close. He was selling my tapes for years. He ended up being the guy who founded Hip Hop DX.
Oh, the website.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I remember he
called.
called.
A Canadian dude started that.
Kid from Winnipeg.
Wow.
Sharath Cherry, and he hit me. I remember when he came up with the name because he was a huge wrestling fan too, and that's where the DX came from.
Right.
So
what was the group? Wasn't it from the other league, not WWF?
No, it was. Pardon me. It was WWE. It was Triple H, Road Dogg, some other dude. What was the Generation X?
Generation X, right? I thought that was in the NWO, but anyway.
No, they went there.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, when the whole thing was going back and forth, but it started in WWE.
Oh, okay. And that's when they do the X on their crotches?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So I remember when he called me and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna make this website. It's called Hip Hop DX. I said, you're gonna go with DX, dude? Like, it's the flavor of the month right now. Like, why wouldn't you want to go with something that's gonna have a little more, you know, longevity to it? You know, what happens when DX ain't no longer in the WWE? He goes, no, I really like that name. Anyhow, it's still around.
Yeah.
He sold it. I think he became a millionaire. He lives in LA or something.
Wow.
And he used to sell my mixtapes.
Oh, good for you, Sharath.
Yes.
Shout out to that.
So
dude.
a little bit of behind the scenes history for you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So you were getting all kinds of music first.
Oh yeah.
And then giving it to the people. So then at its highest peak, what was your like monthly revenue? What was your like?
Oh, the revenue? Can the CRA come after me at this point?
I don't think so.
Is there a statute of limitations?
7 years. 7 years. After 7 years, you're good.
All right, cool. I don't know.
Like, cause you're literally just setting cassette tapes.
$5 grand, $6 grand I was making just off the tapes, and I was still DJing. I was still whatever I was earning.
Of course, and then you're doing like parties. I remember you had like, how many caravanas did you do?
Probably, my own specific party, I probably only did about 3 or 4 max.
Didn't you do one at the Armory? Did you do one at the Armory once?
I DJ'd at the Armory, but it wasn't my party. That was a great party,
That was at Jarvis and Queen-ish?
It's
or Jarvis and Dundas.
Something like that.
There was a huge space.
There was like 10,000 people there.
Yeah, I went to that one. I think it was like $100. The Caravana, for people that don't know, is like this annual Caribbean festival. It's been taking place in Toronto for over 30 years. 1 million people come into the city. It's one of our biggest events.
Yeah.
And like for party goers, the tickets, you would always get jacked at the door. You'd have to buy your tickets.
New Year's and Caravan is when the prices go up,
oh
right?
My gosh. Like,
but in certain instances, it was worth the jacking of the price. Because if you're talking about the Armory party, it was worth, you know, whatever they charged.
I feel like it was, what, like 98, 97 maybe?
It was 96 or 97 for sure.
Yeah.
I remember, if this is the same party, I think I actually made mixtapes to promote this party. It was, there was about 5 or 6 huge DJs on the bill, like, you know, not to say that I was huge or anything, but besides me, there was other crews on there as well, and it was fun that night. But it was also a lot of egos because it was so packed and it was so hype. Everybody wanted to get prime time, and those, you'd be DJing, and some guy from the other crew would go on the mic and try to steal your limelight and all that stuff. But it was fun, and if you were there, you probably remember it being fun.
How does it work? Does everybody get like 45 minutes, or everybody get an hour?
I don't remember at the time, but yeah, most of us were all friends, so we would kind of go in and just split it up. And some guys, you know, there's some DJs that were actually involved in the promotion, so at the end of the day, they were going to go home with a shitload of money, so they didn't care so much about DJing and shining. Some other guys, and I was never really a promoter, so I would get my flat fee plus my time to shine. So, but at some point I became jaded with fighting with dudes, and I was like, if you want to, you know, just do your thing. At the end of the day, as long as I get paid and I go home, I don't care, right? But then there were some parties that you would do for free just because it would be fun. Back then, I used to DJ. It was fun. People ask me how come I don't DJ anymore. I don't really enjoy it anymore. Like,
really?
It's not the parties now. You know, when you have to go and play all this like Ty Dolla $ign and the crap that I don't like, but people for some reason are gravitating towards it. I don't enjoy those. But if DJ X decided to do, who's another longtime hip-hop guy in the city for people who don't know, if he decided to do a live at the barbecue reunion, which was one of his big long-standing events, that's a party I would go do because I know who would come to it, what kind of people would come to it, what I would get to play is the stuff I want to listen to, and people would have fun.
I think the version of that is the nostalgia parties that Agile does.
And I think Amnesia would be one.
Amnesia, sorry,
that's Scratch. That's Scratch's thing.
Amnesia is Scratch? Mm-hmm. So I think nostalgia is Agile, or remember Edson?
Yes, Taboo.
Yeah. I think he was one of those two that. So yeah, those are similar offshoots of the live at the barbecue that you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they would play a certain genre, a certain era of music. So live at the barbecue, are you talking like early 90s? Like,
yeah, for sure. Live at the barbecue started probably 90 when the song came out. So 91, 92.
Main Source featuring Nas. So I have a quick Nas. Oh no, I told my Nas story last time. My new awkward moment.
No, I don't think you did.
I didn't tell. Okay, I'll tell that story in a bit.
All right. So 91, and he was doing them, you know, it was like monthly or something, and it turned into these big events. And the last one we did was probably in 07. He flew, well, I was still in Calgary, and he flew me out from Calgary. We had this big reunion.
Oh, I remember, at the Drake Hotel.
Yeah, dude, it was so much fun. It was just so much fun.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was the first time I had DJed in a long time. I remember being nervous, and I still went on. I did great. I had fun.
Vinyls or just off your
No, that was the very... I actually went and bought a computer to play that party, because I never spun in couple of years, few years. I had sold all my records in 04. You know, the Serato wave happened, and I didn't jump on because I didn't really care. I was considered myself retired. But he called me. He wanted me to do this event. I literally went and bought a laptop and learned how to play on Serato for that event.
Oh my gosh!
I was super nervous.
I can imagine.
But I had dudes around me that are very well versed, and because of our rapport and our relationships, they, you know, they had the kid gloves on with me that night, and I spun. I had fun. It was good.
Okay, so 99.
Yes. So I've been making mixtapes since from 94, and now we're at 99. So I got a huge fan base. I'm selling a lot of tapes on a monthly basis. My show is really successful, and I have a great relationship with the record labels and the artists, to the point where they're coming to me saying, can you put this song onto your mixtape? We need to get this song out there, and your mixtapes are a great way. Now, I understood the concept of mixtapes. I never went to CD. You start talking about CDs, then you're infiltrating on the record label's business, and I also knew that I wasn't selling enough quantities of cassette tapes that it would affect the record labels. However, there was another DJ crew, and other people started making mixtapes, but they decided to go the CD route. And what they decided to do, for some strange reason, is somehow they decided to get their into HMV. I think it was, remember the HMV that had the basement on Yonge Street there?
Yeah, I used to work there. Myself and RT, Randall Thorne, we worked in the video
Is that
department.
where you guys became friends?
Well, we met at Ryerson, and we were roommates in our second year, and we both started, I think I started like a month or two before Randall.
Right,
but
right?
Yeah, we worked at HMV together.
Ah, look at you two superstars in your own fields. And I don't know if it was because there was a hookup or a contact or whatever, but somehow they made their way into the basement. And I could be getting my facts wrong, but I believe it's either that happened, or what happened is, because they were selling their CDs in barbershops and other places, and buzz started getting out about it, people were going into stores like HMV and asking
for them.
And then the people in the stores, because they didn't know what they were going to the record reps who, you know, were pitching their albums and stuff, and said, yo, yeah, that's great, but what about this XYZ mixtape that people keep coming in and asking about? So that's what brought the spotlight onto what we were doing. But because these guys, and I think they were told, I think the record label, our contact guys, you know, the street level promo dudes, were like, stop making CDs to these guys. But because they were making money hand over fist, because, you know, you can sell a tape for a certain amount of money, you can sell a CD for a little bit more.
Right.
Clearly, especially back then. So,
and this is at like the height of when CDs were being, so like Britney Spears and NSYNC and what was the other boy band?
Backstreet Boys.
They be, and Eminem even.
Yeah,
like a million in the first week, a million 8 in the first week.
Absolutely.
Like it was, this is the height. This is just as Napster started to.
Oh, it was before Napster, dude.
No, but Napster was late 90s.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Napster just cut the torsos out of record labels, and then it went from, remember Nutella, G Nutella?
No.
Oh, see, you weren't stealing music or sharing music. I wasn't, but I remember. It wasn't me. It was my friend.
Disclaimer.
I honestly, I didn't start downloading like movies or shows or
anything
until recently. Like until like the last. I was still the guy that goes to HMV to buy. I like buying my Blu-ray DVDs.
Right. And you did pay for the Pacquiao fight, right?
I did pay.
Yeah.
No, I did not.
I watched it on my laptop.
I went to a bar. So I paid.
All right.
I paid in buying.
Well,
beverages.
I didn't pay.
Okay.
And I told you I wouldn't.
Yeah, you did. That's right. So anyway, one other thing. The basement. When we referred to the basement was an area of HMV where they sold urban music. That was the hip hop, the R&B, the soul, the funk. It was just a floor.
Even some vinyl. They even started selling.
Right. They had vinyl. Yeah. Okay. So these guys inadvertently started bringing heat.
Right. So they brought the spotlight onto what we were doing, and they didn't want to stop. They were too popular. Their egos were, you know, out of control.
These are just random DJs that are making.
No, not random. They're a very well-known crew, but I'm not.
Okay, fine.
You know, putting it. I'm not. This is not the snitching show.
It was 15 years ago.
All right, it was Baby Blue. So those guys didn't want to stop. right?
Yeah.
And I mean, if I was in their shoes and I was making the kind of money they were making and, you know, getting to DJ the way they were doing it, that's great. I was comfy selling mixtapes, the certain amount that I was selling every, you know, I had my fan base. I had loyal people that every month they knew that shit was out. They would go get it. I was good with that. I didn't need to be double platinum.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
or have music videos like Money Jane.
Well, that came after the fact.
Oh, right.
That's a whole... We can continue that after the fact. So, in 99, and I believe it was... Actually, I don't know when it was, but it was 1999, and CREA, which is the Canadian something Association.
Yeah.
Which basically, if I'm not mistaken, they're like the copyright arm of the record industry,
like
the recording,
like the RIAA in the United
States. Yeah. So they somehow incognito with in cohesion with the Canadian record labels, went out and did a sweep of all the stores that were selling mixtapes and confiscated and served tickets to all these store owners. So I remember the guy in Whitby that was selling my tapes, all the got taken out of his store. Oh, and they went even further. The dude that used to, at one point, because I was making so many, I found a guy in Scarborough who was a duplicator, and he would make my tapes for me, and he would duplicate them. They went there and fucking shut him down.
Wow.
And served him with notice and stuff. The thing is, because the DJs, us, had that relationship with the record labels, the record rep dudes that were our friends who knew this was bullshit, because like, yo, I give Paul music every month to put on his tapes, yet my bosses are trying to shut down what I do. They made sure that we didn't get touched. They wanted to make sure, just shut down where the stuff comes out from. So our friends at Plady got tickets, our friends at Trax got tickets, and
Trax was the other one.
You know, every place that was selling tapes, barbershops, I think, got shut down in terms of the actual.
Yeah, no, they could still give fades.
Right, they could still give fades and Caesars
and weaves.
Yeah, but they couldn't sell, you know, music at the time for a while. And I remember there was this big brouhaha. It was a big deal, and a journalist friend of mine, Celine Wong.
Oh, yeah, I remember Celine.
She was an independent journalist, so she wrote for XXL, she wrote for, you know, Rap Pages, she wrote for The Source, and so on and so forth. She did a piece about this Toronto crackdown, and they featured, I think I was quoted in it, and one of my tapes was featured in the article, and it just so happened to be in the same issue that Jay-Z was on the cover of.
Okay, in The Source.
Right.
Right.
And so I was kind of proud of that. I was like, yo, I'm the same magazine as Jay. But so as of 99, they shut it down, and I couldn't make tapes after that. As a respect, like, I mean, I think the other guys said and they kept doing shit or whatever. They just had to figure out a different way to sell their shit. I said, okay, I'm gonna stop. They kind of kiboshed it, and out of respect, because I mean, you're not trying to. I also was on the radio, so I had a different relationship with the record labels as well. Like, I also had that relationship as being a radio guy, and I wasn't trying to f*** all that up either, because to me, the mixtape wasn't my career.
Yeah.
The mixtape was a
side hustle.
A side hustle. So I stopped that. And because the record labels felt guilty, I remember a good friend of mine, Big C, who was working at Virgin EMI at the time, and he was somewhat involved in, you know, how all this it went down. He approached Baby Blue, and he approached me to come to the label and sign as putting out albums.
Right.
And it was so basically they were going to sign Baby Blue, and Baby Blue would be the jiggy commercial DJ set. And they would sign Mastermind, and Mastermind would put out the hardcore underground hip-hop, and we'd have best of both worlds. What happened was Universal got wind of this, and Universal went to Baby Blue and offered them more. And Universal at the time was a much bigger label, had better artists, it had a much bigger repertoire. And I don't know what the deal was, but obviously offered Baby Blue a pretty substantial, better package than whatever EMI could offer. And so Blue turned their backs on EMI and Big C and went over to Universal. I didn't care. I was like, yeah, I'm good either way, because I didn't go looking for a record deal. The record deal came to me.
Yeah.
So then they came to me and said, hey, we want to put out your mixtape series, but legitly. And that's where Volume 49 came from, and that's where the legitimate, you know, street legal Volume 50 came from. And then Baby Blue put out their whole... See, they put out like 3 or 4 albums on Universal. I can't remember how many they did.
Weren't yours called Ass?
No.
And Titties?
Ass? No.
And there's like 3. Yeah.
Tits was first.
Tits was first.
Tits, ass, and then the last one was cock. I guess I had to cover all of them. That was an independent group. I believe it was Stickmen Records, who was probably distributed through a middleman type of major label or whatever. But it was Stickmen Records, and that was the Obscene Underground series. So, what was that kid's name?
So these are 3. I remember the black cover, white text.
Yeah.
3 CDs, mixes.
Right. So the first one was like a drum and bass one, and that was what the first kid did with Tits. He put his out. Then they came to me. This is before the EMI deal happened.
Oh, okay.
So they came to me and they said, we want you to put out Ass, Obscene Underground, Volume 2, which would be the hip-hop one. And I think Cock was like a EDM or some other type of I don't even know who did that one, but it was Tits, Ass. And so they came at me, and I had signed, I think, a 2-record deal with them. Not for a lot of money either, being Indian. It was like a lot of, depends on how much it sells. You'd get a certain percentage of this, that, and the third. And I remember I got my first little chunk of money, and then the record sold, and it was really popular. And then I never got my payment because the label went under, and they were saying that whoever was the distributor had all the money, and we can't get it. We can't recover your money.
Oh, my gosh.
And I was like, really? And they were giving me I remember I was still on their deal when Virgin EMI was trying to sign me, and they wouldn't let. They were like, nah, we don't want to let you out of your deal, and blah, blah, blah. But then they went belly up, and I couldn't get my money. I was like, you motherfuckers, like, you fucked up my other deal over here, but now I'm not getting paid. Anyhow, that was Obscene Underground. I'm very proud of that one as well. And I got a lot of people who Instagram me and tweet me pictures of that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I had one of those. I had one of those too. I don't know if I still have the physical CD anymore, but I had one of those. I think I had Tits or Ass.
Well, Tits wasn't me, so Ass was mine.
Okay.
So if you had the hip-hop one, then you had mine.
All right.
Right? And basically, it was funny. What the word was huge on the cover.
Yeah.
And then it would say, now that we got your attention, this is a mix by Mastermind of the best hip-hop and underground, blah, 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 blah. So basically,
do you remember any of the artists that were on that CD? Like Ass?
Cannabis, Phife Dawg. It was a lot of underground.
Like Pharrell Monch and like those?
No, I don't know if Pharrell was on Obscene Underground. Pharrell was on the Street Legal. I had the cool thing about Street Legal, my whole concept with Volume 50, which was a legitimate. So Volume 49. So my mixtapes ended at 48. The last genuine mixtape that I put out was 48. So we wanted to keep the whole concept of Mastermind mixtapes, and everybody was saying you got to do a 50, you got to get the 50. So 49 was called the setup, and what we did is we got every popular rapper, local Toronto rapper, Canadian rapper that we could, and got them to freestyle over beats on Volume 49, getting them to rap about themselves, rap about the city, rap about the fact that I'm coming out with an album and get ready for Volume 50. And we made like 15,000 of these CDs, and that was the promo that we would give out leading up to
number 50,
to when we were working on number 50.
So you're talking Choclair, Socrates, Cardinal.
Dude, anybody and everybody you could think of.
Who else was on? We're on the Northern Touch. Ain't no.
You had Checkmate on that. You had the Rascals.
Rascals, yes, Red One.
You had Thrust on that. Dude, they were everybody. People even up till now still hit me to see if they can get copies of 49.
What was the story between? Didn't Northern Touch share a beat with DMX?
Yeah. So we did as it usually goes. A Canadian producer will make a beat, and then somehow it'll get wind over there. And it happened twice with the Rascals, actually, now that you mentioned it. So Northern Touch came out, sampled a BT Express record. Northern Touch did what it did up here, and then DMX came out with his record, Get At Me Dog, or whatever it was.
Yeah, and they used that beat.
Well, it didn't use that beat. It used the sample, same sample.
Oh, okay.
And people. I mean, samples are samples, and people will chalk it up to coincidence. I mean, that's happened in hip hop all the time. One producer samples something, another producer samples the exact same thing. Interesting.
It happened to get to your
OC and Pete Rock had that same problem. I don't know if problem. OC sample. The thing about the OC sample was the loop was exactly the same.
What song? Do you remember?
It was off his first album. I can't remember.
Jules was the second album, right?
Jules was the second album. Word Life was OC's first album, which incidentally, I just read a story the other day that said Nas was going to name Illmatic Word Life, and OC and him had a conversation, and OC said, yo, I want to name my album Word Life, so Nas was like, yeah, you can have that, and Nas named his album Illmatic.
Wow. That's awesome.
A little hip-hop knowledge.
Kiprios from they were
the Vancouver crew.
Yeah, the Sweatshop Union.
Yeah.
Kiprios was here in Toronto. He signed a deal with Sony, and he was writing and producing stuff. And then one of his beats got, what was it? What was that? Wait, what was that R&B group that had? Oh my gosh!
I just think you need to sing that shit again, though. That was brilliant.
Oh man, I'm terrible. You didn't know. It sounds so ridiculous. Anyway, Kiprios had that happen to him, where he actually made a beat.
Okay, hold on. Sing again and let me Shazam that.
Oh, I'm so embarrassed. Okay, what was the other? You said the Rascals had it happen to them twice.
So the other story is they did that song "Top of the World" with Barrington Levy.
Okay.
And then friggin' Shine came out with Bad Boys and had Barrington Levy singing the exact same shit on his record.
That was such a big tune.
Yeah, and they're saying, and they were literally saying that Puffy's totally bit that whole concept from.
Puffy used to bite everything.
But the thing is, because you're from Canada and there was no huge, it wasn't like the internet was massive back then like it is now. Like something happens right now, it's across the world. Back then it was like, you know, are they really going to find out if I steal this little group in Canada? You know, like, and are they really going to believe them? You know, now you can put two songs back to back on the internet the way they do.
Totally.
And they're like, there, you know that the guy stole it.
And you can find when, like, the first time it was posted, because there are like 95 hip hop blogs,
right?
Like, posted on April 12, blah blah blah, 2001 and or whatever, 2008.
So that was the thing. So it happened to the Rascals twice, allegedly, right? So all these rappers were on 49, and that was what we used to set up Volume 50. And the cool thing, that my concept with Volume 50 was, and I've always had this idea, was that they allowed me to, not only was I licensing records and doing a mixtape of songs that were already out, but they gave me a budget to go in and record material.
Like new material?
Like new material.
Oh, okay.
Canadian material. So my concept was I was going to take, you know, whatever artist was from Canada and team them up on the song with the artists in the States that I felt complimented them. So at the time, my concept would have been, you know, Ghetto Concept with Mobb Deep.
Right.
You know, Cardinal with whoever it was going to be. Choclair with...
I wonder who would be his at that time. Who
well,
would have been his
on
peer?
the song, Cardi ended up doing it with Rod. So what happened was I had these grandiose ideas, and they couldn't become into fruition because of budgets, accessibility, you know, people agreeing to be on the project, so on and so forth. I really wanted to utilize my years of networking and get people to do favors for my first, and knowing that they gave me like a 6-album deal or an 8-album deal. So I like, first album, let me go utilize favors, and then after the first album, I'll go, and then we can start paying people after we have some little bit of success. Not to say we wouldn't pay them, but pay them properly on the second route. But my A&R dude was like, no, I'm paying out. I'm in charge. We paying everybody proper. I remember I got an invoice years after from the record label saying how much I owed. It was like a house. They were saying, you know, this is what we spent putting your album out or whatever. And I was like, yeah, we ain't recouping that. You're going to have to write that off.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
But my whole thing in my mind was like, listen, I've helped so many of these people throughout, you know, the years that I've been on the radio. The least they can do is a song for, you know, scale.
Yeah.
You know, for a minimal of what they would normally charge somebody. That was my vision. My dude wanted to pay everybody, so everybody got paid well. And
except you?
No, I made a little bit of money, but I'm saying, like, dude, they took care of me. Don't get me wrong. The record label took care of me. You know, when you put out a certain project and it's going to cater to a certain amount of people, you can only have a certain amount of success, right? You know, we also were limited as to what records we could license based on the EMI family, and EMI wasn't a huge hip-hop commercial pop label.
Yeah, you guys didn't have like the Def Jam artists.
No, that was all, and that was another big reason why Baby Blue went to Universal, because they had all that access, right? And that's why if you go to their albums, you'll see the lists. You know, huge artists. I mean, Universal was loaded back then, right? But I think, you know, what we lost in commercial success, we made for in street cred. Like the critics reviewed my album, and so many people consider it, quote unquote, you know, a really well done classic album for what it's worth. And you know, I remember we even went out of our way. We did skits. I had my homie Russell, you know, who wasn't who he is now. Back then, I had him as a character. Russell Peters had him as a character, a game show host, and so the skits. I was always a fan of De La Soul. with the skits that they would do in their albums, and I wanted to incorporate some sort of concept. So our skit...
Was De La Soul the first?
Yeah, I believe on 3 Feet High and Rising, I think they were the first ones to ever do skits.
Amazing.
And their skits are awesome, dude. Like, all of their album skits are freaking dope.
That's you know, someone's got to put together. I'm sure Complex Mag has done it, just like a list of like the best 10 skits on like his. I'm sure they've done it.
Now I'm gonna Google that
because I used to like the Mad Rapper, like this.
That was Puffy's thing, right?
Yeah.
That was but yeah, there's definitely
tell him why you mad. First of all,
yeah, there's definitely some. I'm gonna do that after we're done here. I think I'll Google that. But my concept was how to get a record deal. So we took, you know, we wrote these skits and we put, you know, Russell in with the group or whatever, and the group would play the game, and then it would lead into their freestyle of their portion of the song. So each rapper would end up doing like a 1.5-minute freestyle or whatever. And some of those are like my favorite fucking parts of the album because how well I feel they were put together and how the memories that they invoke of me being in the studio with them and A&Ring this whole thing and, you know, putting my touches on it. It was very fun. And at the same, I remember I was still on the radio working full time at, you know, doing my evening show. So it was long days. I remember wifey beefing with me because she thinks I was loafing. You're out all day, you're out all night, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're never home, blah blah blah. And you know, they never see the big picture.
Of course, they don't see the process. They just it's like I'm stealing this line from someone. It's just like, don't tell me about the baby pains, just show me the baby.
Oh boy.
So you were experiencing the baby pains, and she was like, well, I don't see the baby. I'm like, you'll see the baby. The baby's coming.
But I don't even think she cared about the baby at that point. But anyhow, that's neither here nor there. So I think we've covered it. I think so from 99 with that whole drama where, you know, the tapes got shut down to getting the record deal and putting out that album. So after that album came out, so let me go back. So after that album came out, didn't quite achieve the success that the record label was anticipating, especially with the amount of money that the A&R spent on it.
Which was what? Like, what are we talking about?
I can't even remember, but it had to be a couple of $100,000 or some shit like that. Minimum, right? We even shot a video, which I'm embarrassed to go look at nowadays. They made me dance in the... the concept that I had wasn't what happened. And so...
Is it on YouTube?
Oh, of course it is, dude. You've never seen the video for Bump?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Dude, they got me
in the house party.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like...
I hate that video.
Yeah, but you were on your turntables.
And then at the end, I did a stupid jig. Even my kids make fun of me. Dude, I know my limitations. I can't dance. But because of what this video was supposed to be... And
right, and anyway. Part of it was on a green screen, right? Somebody was like,
oh, there was lots of green screens.
Superimposed,
there was lots of green screening. So because it didn't achieve the success, I guess, the monetary success that they wanted, they didn't want to obviously continue making these things because they didn't think they would make their money back. It was like a 6-album deal or whatever. So, and also because I had a great rapport with the companies on my radio show, and me and the president were good friends and whatnot, they cut me a check and said, let's get the fuck it. Let's just go our separate ways.
Got it.
I think normally an artist gets dumped and they just get dropped.
Like an NFL contract? Like, yeah, we're just going to cut this, boom.
So apparently I did the Jay-Z route as I don't get dropped, I drop the label. not that harshly, but yeah, we parted ways very amicably.
Shout out to Blueprint 3. Do you have a, can you tell your best Jay-Z story?
Best Jay-Z story? Besides the time when we met?
Was that the best one?
That's one of them. I mean, for me, it's like I was a huge fan of Jay-Z. Meeting.
Tell that story.
I hosted the Hard Knock Life tour, which came to the ACC in 1999. I was the guy.
I went to that concert. Method Man, Redman, DMX.
Yes.
And then Hove, right?
Correct.
That was huge.
14,000 people, ACC. We did a contest.
Canada Center here in Toronto.
ACC in Toronto. We did a radio station did a contest called Live the Good Life at the Hard Knock Life tour, where we gave away a suite. You know, fully catered. You won the tickets and you got to the concert with your friends and family and you know, the crew, and it was my job to go on stage and intro before Redman and Method Man. That was the only time. You couldn't do before DMX. You couldn't do before Hove, but it was my job. So I went up on stage. I can't even remember what I said back then, but I was super nervous. And afterwards, there was a meet and greet, and you know, so I got pictures with whoever we could get pictures with. You know, I got a picture with Red, I got a picture with Meth, I got a picture with Hove.
Was anybody smiling in any of these photos? Do you still have these photos?
Yeah, the Hove one, he looks like he's kind of smiling. And it was cool because, you know, even back in '99 to me, Hove was nowhere near what he is now back then. But even then, and even though I was in his career from before, you know, Reasonable Doubt, like I'm talking about back with Jazzo, and you know, when he was doing songs, you know, 16 bars on R&B records and like that. He's rapping like Das Effects. Like back then, you know about this guy. You're involved with his career. You still meet this guy after he's got, you know, 3 multi-platinum albums, and he's very humble. He's very cool. I had a couple of stories because I'd been to his offices in New York at Rockefeller. I knew people that worked for him in his record label and so on. So there was a little bit of a back and forth chat. Not as long as you would like with a guy like Jay-Z, but he was very gracious in the fact that he took the picture. Shows you what kind of person he is. So that was really cool. You know?
And this is back like this is a film camera. It's not like
yeah.
Or did you have a digital one back there? It's like
I don't remember. I don't know. I'm pretty sure mine was just a.
So you have to hope you get the picture in the one shot.
Right. And it was busy in there because this was the group picture, so the record label, and I think the record labels actually apparently X and J were beefing or something because X was getting a certain amount of notoriety at the time. His albums were doing really well.
Yeah, he had back-to-back. Weren't like 5 million.
So there was beef that Hove was headlining the concert, and I think that I remember.
It was called the Hard Knock Life Tour.
But I remember hearing that they couldn't get them together in any room at that point in the thing. But they were in Canada, and they were giving everybody their plaques, so they had to get them all together in one room. And I remember somebody from the record label saying, "This is a big deal. We haven't had them in the same room in like weeks." And they were all in the room, so we got a group shot. So, you know, it's me, you know, wifey's in the picture. The people that won were there. The guy that I did the morning show with at the time, or the evening show at the time, his name was Axel. He's now JJ on the Flow Morning Show. He was there. Russell was there because I invited him to come with me.
Oh, nice.
So we're all in this picture where you have Redman, Method Man, DMX, DJ Clue, Hove. I think that's it. But there's this cool picture, and I think I posted it on my Facebook page because I'm one of the only people that has it. And I posted it on my Facebook page, and now everybody, I think DMX retweeted it or reblogged it. I think Method Man reblogged it because this is like a pretty big picture.
And they probably have never seen that photo.
Probably not. I think the last time, I think I may have showed it to him remember when Meth came by TSN?
Oh, yes, that's right.
I think I may have showed it to him then.
Oh, very cool.
But that to me is a pretty fond memory. But a good Jay-Z stories I remember right before Reasonable Doubt came out.
This is like 96 it came out, right?
Yeah, so this might be 95 or 94. I used to go to these DJ conferences heavy in the States. Like
did you go to like Jack the Rapper?
I used to go to
What's the one in Puerto Rico?
That was a Mixo Power Summit, but that came after.
Oh, okay.
So before you had Jack the Rapper, you had Impact, you had all the Jack the Rapper was in Atlanta, but there was a lot in Atlantic City. There was some in New Orleans, and there was they used to put them all over the place.
So these were just conferences or summits for DJs and
radio. It was radio people, but a lot of the DJs and the record labels all would take artists and so on and so forth. So I remember this one was in New Orleans, and during Mardi Gras, which was even cooler. But I remember
and crazier.
But I remember walking by a restaurant, and Jay had the Rockefeller crew in this restaurant, and this was right before the Reasonable Doubt was supposed to come out. So Ain't No Nigga was doing really, really well. That was his record, and they knew they had something happening, and they were there. And Dame was there, and all his crew,
he was there.
and they were all there, and they had out their fucking champagne bottles, and they were toasting this forthcoming success for Rockefeller Records with their crew. Because I was friends as a DJ, I was friends with their promotions people. He brought me one of the promotions guys. I think his name was Reg. There was another guy who used to work for him called Al Branch. I was their friends. They brought me over, introduced me to Yo-Ho, and I said, hey, congrats on everything, blah, blah, blah. And I was kind of involved in the toast. I was right there for the toast.
Oh, nice.
And so that's a fond memory. They're kind of like they were toasting their the startup of what was meant to be.
Dame Dash, Kareem Biggs. I don't know what Biggs is. What's Biggs' last name? Burke, is it?
Yeah.
Burke.
Yeah.
And then Hoban. So one of his contemporaries, Nas, I had the pleasure of interviewing a couple of weeks ago in Washington, D.C.
Right.
And he did a concert at the Kennedy Center for the 20th anniversary of Illmatic, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So we go to the concert, and he has the National Symphony Orchestra, and Illmatic only has 9 tracks.
10.
Sorry, 10.
Yeah.
The intro, yeah, okay, so 10. And before every song, there was like this 30-second kind of cinematic intro to the beat of the song, whether it was Represent or one.
Was it the same? Was it the same cinematic?
It wasn't the same order.
Oh no, but I'm saying, was the cinematic thing the same?
Yeah, because in some of them he talks before he talks before
okay.
he goes into the song or whatever.
Right.
On the actual album. So it's very cool. It's like it was a very like grown up experience because all of Nas's fans seem like they're around the same age, and they just grown up with Nas. So it was like, you know, you saw like went from like tuxedos to like dudes in sneakers and baseball caps, but we're all like in our 30s. So it was so anyway, the next day I interviewed Nas at the Westin or the Hyatt Hotel or Four Seasons or something, and we're on like this mezzanine floor in this hallway, and I have a new most awkward moment ever. So I said to Nas, I'm like, I've seen you in both Yankees caps and Mets caps. I'm like, what team do you ride for? And he said the Mets, but the Yankees cap, when I wear the Yankees cap, it doesn't just represent the Yankees. Because I love the Yankees, but it's like a New York hat. It's like the New York staple.
Yes.
I loathe the Yankees and everything about that team, me personally. So I was like,
as a sports fan.
As a sports fan. But even when I see Canadians rock the Yankees cap, I'm like, take off that disgusting hat. Like,
really?
That's not for you.
That's how hard you go?
Oh, man.
Wow.
And listen, and I shouldn't say, my logic is flawed because my favorite baseball team is the Cleveland Indians. And they're from Cleveland, they're from Ohio, and they're obviously Americans. But anyway, whatever, my logic's flawed. So I said, Nas, it was harder for me to find photos of you smiling than you in a Yankees cap. And he's like, I'm smiling right now. I actually should have included that moment in the edit now that I think about it.
Yeah.
I was really stupid because now the interview is out. I posted it, but so right after that, I said, "Well, what would a cameraman have to say to you to get you to smile?" And I'm like, "I like the word titties."
Didn't work.
Then there was just this uncomfortable silence, just sitting there and just bathing in the heat and the fire and brimstone of being that embarrassed. And then I was like, "Okay." And then there was this is how much silence there was between Nas and I. 1,000. 1,000.
Are you looking at each other?
Yeah, I'm looking over at him, and he's just looking forward. 1. I'm like, all right, moving on. But like for those like long, excruciating 3 seconds of painful, uncomfortable silence, and then I moved on. And then later in the interview,
good God,
oh yeah, it was bad. Later in the interview, I got him to laugh a couple of times, and I've never heard or seen Nas laugh before.
Right.
He's such a low key dude, and I knew this going in that he was very chill. That was his vibe. So I took it upon myself. I'm like, I have to crack this guy. I don't think I have a successful interview until I crack the person I'm interviewing. So I got him to laugh a couple of times. I mentioned something about a possible album title for the third in the Matic series. There was Illmatic, there was Stillmatic. I'm like, give us a third Matic. He doesn't want to do it. He's like, I don't know whether I get the same producers as before, blah, blah, blah. But then I threw out some album titles, and the one he started laughing at was I said Grant Hill Matic, and he's like, that's cool. I'm like, Belichick Bill Matic, after the famous New England Patriots coach. He started to laugh there, and I said, Kill Bill Matic, and he's like, that's cool. And he's smiling, goes, oh, wait a second. I'm like, you like Kill Bill Matic? And he's like, yeah, that's pretty cool. And I'd have to figure out what the bill means, but maybe it's if Quentin does a third film, maybe I do a soundtrack, and I do an album, that's the soundtrack to the album. So I was like, oh,
right
cool.
there.
Yeah. But then
Bill died at the end of the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's, you know what it is? He's supposed to do a third one because Homegirl's kid is supposed to come back to kill Uma. Vivica Fox's kid is supposed to do revenge, right?
That would be prime for, what's that little girl in The Beasts of the Southern Wild? Kavanjane something?
Yeah.
Her or you know who it would be? It would be Will Smith's kid.
Word.
It'd be Willow Smith.
Willow Smith, yeah. But there's other girls that can do that too.
Yeah, there are.
But yes, there you go. You just created, man. Kill Bill Matic.
I think DK came up with that when we were emailing back and forth like album titles. Either me or Dave Kirk.
Well, here's the thing. Producer. I think it really depends on when and how you catch Nas, because in '96 I hosted his in-store at Tower Records.
Right.
Now, for people who are familiar with Toronto, will know that Tower Records used to be on the corner of Yonge and Queen.
Yeah,
Yonge
right at
and
the bottom
Queen,
of the
which is now a Good Life Fitness or something like that.
I think it's a sports store, Mountain Coast or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that used to be at Tower Records, and in '96 I hosted It Was Written was the record that was coming out, And
which is a dope record. Remember, it got murdered by the critics because it wasn't Illmatic. But it was. If you listen to it now,
it's amazing.
Like, wow,
it's a great album.
Awesome.
Yeah. And
some of the beats were Nas is coming was kind of a and that was a Dre beat.
It was a bit of a letdown. I heard that just the other day too. I was like, I was trying to see if it would be all right. Didn't work. But I hosted the In-Store, and Nas was meeting his fans, and I remember afterwards we got a chance to do a little meet and greet, and so I took a picture with him, and Nas busted this kind of, he busted a certain pose in the picture. I met him again last year or 2 years ago when he came with Lauryn Hill for Rock the Bells, was it, at Molson Canadian Amphitheater?
Oh, yeah.
So I was backstage with him again, and I pulled up this picture to say, dude,
sick.
you remember this picture? And obviously he wouldn't remember it, but I was like, this picture's from '96 when you came to do an In-Store, blah, blah, blah. And I showed him the picture, and he was like, oh, wow. He was in a great mood for some strange reason. And so, later on, like, okay, let's take another picture. And he's like, yo, I'm going to bust that same move.
Oh, cool.
And he busted the same move, 20 years later kind of move.
Oh, that's cool.
And I got like a before and an after picture basically. Now, so I think it really depends on when you catch him. Like, for all you know, right before your interview, he got off the phone with Khalees about alimony.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like,
but okay, yeah, that could have been, but I just know, from seeing other interviews. Actually, Dave, my producer, said, "Are you okay over there?"
Yeah.
You're like dying asleep.
No, I'm not.
Speaking of Lauryn Hill, killing me softly right now, or Roberta Flack, whichever one you want.
Right.
But Dave said that he was on Kimmel like a week later, and he gave Kimmel less than he gave me. I'm like, that's Jimmy Kimmel. Like, Jimmy Kimmel is a great interviewer and always has a great Kimmel, Fallon.
Here's the
Conan
thing, though.
O'Brien.
But here's the thing that you have to. You can actually probably take solace in this. Nas is a terrible interview. I was excited when I heard that he was going to be on with Bill Maher, which was 2 Fridays. Was it last Friday? It was last Friday.
Yeah.
I got excited because I remember when Bill Maher interviewed Jay-Z.
And there were, Jay-Z's, okay, yeah.
And he actually set aside time just for Jay. That's how big of a hip-hop. Like, Bill Maher is a black dude.
He's got an honorary card, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? Like, I mean,
he dates sisters, he
and
knows
what he
the
rides
culture.
but he rides for it, too. You know what I mean? So... And he's a hip-hop head. So the interview with Jay-Z, I was excited because it was a great chemistry, and I thought, oh my God, Nas is coming on, it's going to be great. And you would think Nas would be like, yo, I got a lot to live up to. You would watch the show and kind of know what you're getting into. And the interview was terrible. Like, the question, like, Nas really didn't answer anything. There was one little part where there was a bit of a laugh, where Bill asked him about the song with him and Jay called Black Republicans, and there was a Republican on the panel. It was like, hey, here you got one. And Nas was like, I wouldn't go that far. And the crowd laughed. But before that, I was like, wow, what a dud. I'm like, this whole interview was a dud. Then I heard an interview with Zane Lowe, the guy from the BBC in the States, who recently has been knocking interviews out the box.
Yeah, he had the Kanye interview.
Kanye, the Jay.
Yeah, he's awesome.
All these great interviews. There's something about him, that's very charismatic. And the interview.
And he's sorry to cut you off. He's like Nardwuar in a way that he's really well researched, and he can articulate things sonically. He's like, you had this kind of a vibe and a thing.
Right, but he's not cornball like Nardwuar, right?
Correct.
And he's a head too. You can tell he's a hip hop head.
Yeah.
So he did this interview with Nas, and in this interview, it was only like a 22, 23-minute interview because of their time constraints, but I was captivated by it, which I've never been typically with a Nas interview, because Nas just always seems, and I guess it could be by the questions you ask the guy or whatever, but Nas just seems like he doesn't care in interviews. And so you shouldn't feel bad if you think your interview didn't go well, because that's how, like, I mean, shit, if he shits the bed with Kimmel and Bill Maher, why would he care about some small, in his mind, some small sports guy?
I am.
Nah, you're not, though.
But it's like, hey, listen.
Dude, you've been in Kobe Bryant's helicopter.
Yeah, but Nas doesn't know that, nor would he care.
You should walk around with a T-shirt and
Kobe's helicopter?
Yeah, I've been in this. Have you?
I should. That'd be so arrogant, though.
Oh dude, there's certain interviews you need to. Yo, I got a hug from Michael Jordan. Did you?
Again, so ignorant. Like, it's so.
Son, if I was you.
No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't.
I know I wouldn't. But son, because I'm not you, I'm gonna say that I would do all that.
You had, to put a bow in that, I actually think I did have a good interview with Nas because I got him to emote, because I was successful in making him smile a couple of times. It made me feel good. Other than that one horribly awkward moment,
because you said titties.
Because I said titties, which is
you know what's interesting? Because I was gonna say usually that will put a smile on a man's face. I don't know what up with Nas.
I don't know.
Come on, Nas.
So after the Hard Knock Life tour, Jay-Z starts his ascent, and to help his ascent was the Neptunes.
Sure.
Obviously his lyrics are one thing, but his songs like I Just Want to Love You is still my favorite party record because everybody knows the words.
Well, here's a great
the girls know the words.
Here's a great story for you. Well, great, sort of. October 30th, 2000 is when my album came out. October 30th was a Tuesday.
Was number 50.
Not Volume 50.
Volume
50 came out October 30th. The same day that album came out, The Dynasty, with I Just Want to Love You, which was a massive smash.
Yes.
Same day, Outkast's album, the one with Ms. Jackson on it. I can't remember the name. ATLians was? No, it wasn't ATLians.
I think they had the Stars and Stripes on the cover. I think Stankonia.
Stankonia?
I think it's Stankonia.
Both those albums, and there was another big one which I can't remember, but both those albums came out same day, and I was like, yeah, no one's buying mine. If you're going to the store with $19 on Tuesday, you're buying one of those two, and you're just looking at my.
So a couple years after that, Pharrell Williams and Chad Hugo of the Nerds, they explode and they own music for like a good 2-3 year stretch.
Do they still own music?
But now it's gone back. Everything's cyclical. You know, Timberland had his era. You know, who else? Big producer that like I'm trying to think of like the mid 2000s and like the late 2000s.
Dre had a run.
Yeah, Dre had a run, obviously, with M and 50 Cent.
Just Blaze, Kanye West. Kanye
had an era, yeah, of course, yeah. So, Pharrell, did you ever have any...
I do have a Pharrell story.
What's your Pharrell story?
All right, Pharrell's story. I got a Kanye story, too.
Please continue.
All right, Pharrell. So it's 2004. Incidentally, let's go back. I went to that Mix Show Power Summit in Puerto Rico. I was broadcasting my show live from there. And Pharrell is there. And I run up on him, and I'm like, hey, dude, I'm doing my show today. You know, I'd love to have you on. He's got like 3 models with him.
Of course he does.
So he's walking around with 3 models. And he's like, yo, bro, I really want to, but I'm kind of busy right now. And he's got his hands on these models. You know, I stopped him somewhere random in the hotel or whatever, and I'm like, all right, but, you know, like, I'd really like to, you know, this is 04, so it's not like, you know, he's happy famous yet. He's still a Neptune right now, right?
Super rich, though.
Oh,
like,
God, yeah, dude, are you kidding me?
The Britney Spears Slave for You, like, he had Justin's album, the Timberlake, he did like half or most of it. Timberlake's album came out in like 04. 03 or 04.
Oh, maybe you're right. Yeah,
solo album.
Yeah, no, actually, it came out around there because I remember they performed it at. I remember the clips were there and.
Right, and he was performing it at the Super Bowl when he ripped out Janet Jackson.
But that's the reason. That was one of the main reasons he was there, to help promote the clips. The clips were at this conference, and they were getting ready to put out their album and so on and so forth.
Lord willing.
Lord willing. So anyhow, he gave me the Pharrell punk off where, you know, he was like, yeah, I'm gonna try to do it. But he was too busy with these models and.
Oh man, life is good.
And he's short. If I recall. I mean, he looks
like a small. He doesn't look more than $1.40.
Yeah, no,
$1.40.
I don't remember, but I remember looking down at him. In just from a view standpoint, not from anything else. The Kanye story is incredible too. So Kanye,
would you ever have a wallet chain? Have you ever had a wallet chain?
Never.
Or like the carabiner for your keys?
Nah, B.
Okay. But you spent time in Calgary. I mean, don't they do all those outdoor stuff like climb mountains out there?
Yeah, but I don't have the... There was dudes around me that had the chain on their wallet. Not me. My whole thing about Calgary was I was passing through. It was never permanent, ever. You know, God loved the people that, you know, I know there, and, you know, Mayor Nenshie's one of my favorite dudes.
Right.
But yeah, come on, man. You know,
we need to do a sign and trade for Mayor Nenshie for Rob Ford.
Word up. I'm a Toronto dude, B.
Okay, I got you. All right.
So the Kanye story, he comes to he has not put any music out. I think Through the Wire was just getting released.
But he did do H to the Izzo.
He was on the Blueprint. He was all over the Blueprint, so he's got his fame from the Blueprint. Was the Black Album out at that point?
Black Album, I think, came out 03 or 04.
Okay, so he's obviously Kanye West, but he's not a rapper. And I believe he had finished College Dropout, so it was in his back pocket kind of thing, like it was there. But he was at this conference with his fucking backpack on.
The Louis backpack.
Him and Don C were there
in polo shirts.
He was wearing a polo shirt with the collar popped up, and he was there to promote Through the Wire, you know, and nobody was fucking with him really on a rapper level. So I remember there was a DJ, you know, some sort of Emporium thing. We were at some conference thing, because that's basically what happens, you know, like you'll be at these DJ conferences, and then on, you know, 8 o'clock in the morning there's a panel where people talk, and then you go to another one, there's another panel, then there's like an artist showcase, and blah, like that happens. On this particular day there was a panel to the DJs or whatever. Kanye gets up on stage and he's like, you know, he comes to address, you know, so someone gave him a big speech or whatever saying, you know him from this, you know him from that, but he gets on stage to address the DJs, and he says something along the lines of, y'all know me from making beats and stuff, but I'm a rapper, you know, and he gave one of those Kanye kind of speeches, and he's like, look at you giving me one spin. He's talking to the DJs now. He's like, you giving me one spin on Through the Wire is like Jay getting 100 spins. It means so much to me. It's like I know I'm gonna be successful, but I need y'all help. Blah 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 blah. He gave us a speech, and I was like, cool. Yeah, all right. I'm a with this guy. So he gets off stage. No one's fucking talking to him or anything. You know, he's not Jay-Z yet. I run over to him and I'm like, yo, man. That was great, you know, man, I'm doing my show from here. I'd love to have you come on and we could talk later on this afternoon. And he hits me with, yeah, go talk to my manager. After giving this big speech.
Like, yeah, please help me out and play my albums. Help me, because it means so much to me if you play my record. And then you ask him, like, yeah, well, come talk about it.
Yeah, so I say, come on my radio show and we can talk. And he gave me the... go talk to my manager. Now, I don't know if that was a punk off or if that was just him as a new artist following protocol. I couldn't tell, but I was pissed because I just finished hearing this powerful speech about how you need support. I come to show some, and you tell me that. In hindsight, I should have went to his manager and put my ego aside, but you never know who the Kanye is going to end up being.
Of course.
So I should have went to the manager and said, hey, you know, I'm on the air, blah, 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 because... you never know what kind of relationship that could have turned into in terms of I was one of the first people to ever interview him on the radio, support him, blah, blah, blah. Who knows what that would have been. But I'll never know because I let my bullshit ego be like, yo, this dude.
What was your first interaction or experience with Drake?
Ha! Have I ever told you this story?
No.
Oh, all right. Drake. This is before he's put any mixtapes out.
Oh, okay. Before
I'm in Calgary.
Okay.
I get a call from a friend of mine who apparently is managing him. And he says to me, yo, we're coming to Calgary, XYZ. He's this kid. He's on Degrassi, but he wants to become a rapper. And he wants to have dinner with you. He knows all about you. He knows your history. He wants to learn. We're going to fly to Calgary just to have dinner with you. But he's a nobody, like in his mind. So I'm a somebody because I'm a PD, APD, in a hip hop station in Calgary, or whatever, music director, whatever I was back then. You know, with a huge history lineage in Toronto,
as we discussed in this podcast.
And so you have this young kid who wants to become an artist, coming from a TV background, who wants to pick my brain. And so I'm like, do I really have time?
For this dude that wants to be Will Smith, essentially. Will Smith did it the other way.
Right, but for some dude who nobody knows, who thinks he's going to become... You got to remember, at this point, I don't even think Cardi bust yet. Dangerous wasn't out. So this is like 06 or 07, and I think Cardi bust in 07, end of 07 or something like that. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, do I have time for this? So here's how you see what kind of an idiot I am. And I'll
it comes back to your ego. You're like, do I have time for this guy?
But hold on. So I say, okay, my daughter and my son are trying to get into acting, so let's play the scratch back game. I'll come meet with this guy, chop it up about music and radio, and we can see if he can give me any tips on how I can advance my kids' careers from an acting standpoint. So I think it's a win-win. You know what I mean? He gets something from me, maybe I can get something from him. So I tell my guy, sure, no problem. So, me, Aubrey Graham, and I can't for the life of me remember which friend this is. I think I have an idea, but even me and Drake have had a conversation about this after the fact. And I believe he knows, but I think he's trying to forget that past.
Okay.
So
because it's someone that's no longer in his camp?
Yeah, I believe that's the case. And I'd be like, yo, dude, that time you came and had dinner with me, like, you know, who brought you? And he's like, yo, I don't even remember. I'm like, yeah, you liar. You know who it was. But, so, we had dinner, and I can't remember what was discussed. All I know is, and my daughter at the time, 07, she was maybe 7 or 8, and my son was like 11. So they probably weren't even interested in any of this conversation. They were just there to eat, you know, and be a part of the dinner or whatever it was. But, you know, I had this conversation, and I'm very blunt. When people come to ask me about the radio industry, I'm very straightforward, and I tell them my opinions and how it is, especially for urban artists in this country, which is super fucking hard. So you got to remember, I'm talking to him before we know what he is right now, before we had any super success with Cardi. You're talking about a genre that is not flourishing in this country. So I gave him the goods the way I believe. You know, if you want to really be a successful rap artist in this country, you have to blow up in the States. I said, you go over there, you get a cosign, or you get put on over there, you'll win back here. And I was telling him that type of stuff. And he basically followed my blueprint to a T. Whether or not I'm the guy that planted that seed, I have no idea, because he's an intelligent kid. The fact that he told somebody, yo, I want to fly to Calgary to meet this fucking guy and pick his brain shows you how committed he was to his job and his craft and whatever his career was going to end up being. So anybody who thinks that he fluked into whatever success he has, that's horse.
Yeah, they're stupid if that's the case.
He put in the fucking work, and people may not know about all this stuff. I don't know any of his Toronto because I wasn't here for that. But what I do know is he came there to meet me, which was pretty fun. In hindsight of this whole thing and who he is now, to me, that's a feather in my cap. I take pride in the fact that someone thought enough of me for my opinion to help their career. I thought that was pretty cool.
I had Kevin Chaos on a podcast once, and he told me that when Drake was coming up and he reached out to Chaos to get on a song, Drake he did sort of similar move about let's have dinner. Like, he's big on chopping it up. Yeah.
And then forgetting about you?
No, man. No, but like as a way to like establish a rapport, because you can't meet somebody at a club. You can't have any kind of meaningful connection at a club, or maybe at a game if you can you can talk, but not for like a 20-second interaction in the concourse.
You can tell the boy's intelligent. There's nothing. Yeah, there's no
absolutely
arguing the fact that he knows what needs to be done to get the job done, right? So yeah, that makes complete sense. Yeah.
Mastermind.
Yo. This is fun, dude.
This is very.
I don't know if I even have enough material for a part 3. Sometimes I remember when we start to get into this thing, but I don't. I don't know if
you gave us some gems today. You gave it was like a full history lesson, because I didn't know that there was like the origins of the CDs, and then Baby Blue. They went off and did their thing. It's kind of like probably like rival camps, and I didn't know about that you bought a computer for a party when you came back for the Drake, and you're dusting the rust off that way. And So now you go to Virgin Radio. Yeah, that's like, is that the next
Virgin Radio?
Aren't you guys moving to?
Nah, I'm not going to Virgin, B. I'm still Flow.
Oh, Flow. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Just the ownership has changed.
Ownership has changed, and we're changing locations.
Okay, my bad.
I'm still the APD, the Assistant Program Director, and Drive Guy on Flow.
On Flow 93.5. You have...
In Toronto here, yeah.
You're one of my favorite Twitter followers, and I'll get you out of here on this. You're one of my favorite Twitter followers, because whenever there's a live event happening, you have a nice portion of sarcasm, and I really love your kids stay in school posts.
Oh, yes,
you have one of those like every day or every couple of days, where it's just you are amplifying the stupidity of humanity, and namely... the millennials who do idiotic things.
Dude, the internet gives us gems.
Oh man,
gems. You just gotta find them.
Yeah, but you find them. Like you find hey kid says, whether it's the kid with the McDonald's tattoo on his friggin' arm.
Dude, the one that killed me was the one I tweeted just the other day, where there was the university kid on Wheel of Fortune,
Oh,
and he had the entire
man.
word, the whole phrase was spelled. There was not a letter
man,
missing.
I feel so
not
bad
a
for
letter
that
missing,
dude.
and he had $1 million thing plus a trip to
Yeah.
London, and he pronounced Achilles wrong.
He said Achilles. No,
he said Achilles.
Achilles.
I don't even. All I know is he spelled that wrong, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Dude, he did it like 4 times either that game or that week. He messed up something like the world's fast. He said the world's fastest.
car,
but
as
it was the
opposed
world's
to
fastest
man. Yeah. So
there's like one YouTube clip with 4 of his mistakes from that game or that week.
dude,
and
that $1 million one stung though.
Oh man, that dude is just getting murdered at his school. I think it was like Indiana or Illinois or something, some T-shirt or some sweatshirt. But that guy he has to he's got to transfer.
Stay in school, kids. Stay in school.
This was school for many of our listeners, and as always, I want to thank you for your time. And the next time we talk, I don't know if it'll be around like a John Jones fight, because I know you're a huge. I mean, you're like my.
Hey, there's
my
a fight
MMA.
tonight. There's a fight tonight.
Well, who's fighting?
The Patrick. They're doing the
Patrick Cote.
the tough finals, and then Bisping and some dude or Kennedy are gonna fight. I was like watching Bisping fight because he's like my, what do you call it? Like the guy you want to see lose, even though he's a great fighter. I just like seeing him lose.
He's Floyd Mayweather to me. For you.
Oh, you hate Floyd?
I ride for Manny Pacquiao. Ride and die for that dude.
What?
Because he's never ducked anybody, and Floyd has just bobbed and weaved and ducked Pacquiao forever. Now we'll never see that fight, or if we do see the fight, we won't care about it.
Oh, you must have cried when Pacquiao. I thought he died when Marquez knocked him out. Yo, we were watching that in Vegas. It was me, Russ, a whole bunch of dudes, and we were watching a fight. And this particular whatever feed we were watching, the angle never saw the hit. So all you saw was Manny fall forward, and we were like, somebody shot him.
Thank you for listening to Cabbie Presents, the podcast.